1 2 1 2 check 1 2. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2 of the Catalyst podcast. My name is Jason. You can find Catalyst, the Catalyst family of different digital media platforms. You can check us out on Facebook at Catalyst Motivation. YouTube, it's at Catalyst Motivation 561. And on Instagram at Catalyst Motivation 561. Catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that's what this podcast will do. We're going to talk about the catalyst, that turning point, the journey, and the lessons that were learned, as well as beyond. Again, episode 2 of the Catalyst podcast. Very, very excited. We did episode 1 yesterday and put it out, and now we're recording episode 2. We're going to talk about the journey. We're going to talk about how this all started. It's going to be broken up into 3 pieces. Why we're doing it, the podcast, why it took so long, and the journey, which is the main thrust of it. We also said before, we're going to reach out to you and hear what you have to say, and help each other become the light in the darkness, because that's really what it's all about. So let's get started on something that's been one of the reasons why there's been such a long time in starting this podcast. The journey. I'm going to try and kind of break this up into chunks as best I can. Again, this is going to be raw, real, unedited. Whatever we put on, whatever we record, that's what's going to be. So if I mess up on words and fart and burp and all that kind of stuff, you got to deal with it, because that's the way it is. Okay. So let's talk about how we got here. Okay. My journey with cancer. That's what really kind of thrusted this process, at least in the past 3 years, to get some traction. So I'll kind of give you a breakdown of how we all got from the early stages to going through treatment and where we are now. So how we got here was, it really started in 2018. I was, a few years earlier, I was an OTF guy. I was an Orange Theory guy. And I was one of the first people at the location here in Jupiter, Florida. I was the first paid member. I stopped going. I was in a relationship with my ex-wife. It wasn't there. There wasn't a connection. There wasn't a friendship. There wasn't a trust. It was 2 people who were interested in each other and their cultures and their differences. And we, ended up getting married due to her being pregnant. And if anything out of this, the best thing that ever happened was, of course, the child that comes from that situation, if there is one. And that is the blessing. But I can't honestly say that, even though through this journey, my ex may come out in a negative light. I want to preface it with this. She is a great person. She's a great woman. She is stubborn, hardworking. Really kind of blinders off. She's like a bull in a china shop a little bit. And sometimes doesn't know when she's kind of overstepping her bounds. And there's a realness about it. There's no putting on airs of those things that happen, and I'll kind of go into detail on that. But in July of 2018, I had just started a new job, and the previous job, they shut our site down. It was more mutual. They were shutting the site down, and I wanted to leave because I didn't really like what was going on there. Which a few months later it came to reality, and they gave me a severance, a nice big severance, and I was fired on a Friday, and had a new job on a Sunday night, which I would be starting that Monday. So it really kind of turned around very, very quickly. I was talking to this person for a couple of weeks, and this happened, and then here we are. So this severance package that I got, which was a lot, a great deal of money, and we decided to go and get ourselves annual passes for Disney. And in July of 2018, it was one of our trips, and as I look back, even when going through like how did this all happen and all of that, I'm now starting to look, 3-4 years later, there were certain things that happened along the way that were telltale signs that something was going on with me. One of those big pieces was in 2018. We were at Disney. We would leave on a Friday, go up to Orlando and spend 2 days there, drive on back on a Sunday afternoon. This weekend was a little different. As we were going through the park on a Saturday, I was having these chest pains, and everything was strenuous for me. And I took a few aspirin. I was able to make it through the day, and that night it was brutal. It was so brutal. It was like somebody was twisting and turning and pulling apart. It's really, really hard to describe. It was probably one of the most painful things I ever went through. And being a male that was raised in an Italian family, you sucked it up, and you didn't talk about it, and you tried to push on through. That is not a good thing to do. And sometimes I still see myself doing things like that. So that was, that's one of the things I started to work on getting better with. But that was one of the big moments when I look back on the whole journey. That was kind of like the one of the cornerstones of my health deteriorating. My career is in flux. I'm in a loveless marriage. My finances are in a shambles. And now my health is starting to become a shambles. In August of 2018, late July, early August of 2018, my ex said, we need to do something about this, and we should go and do some counseling. So I went and looked up some people, and every time I tried to schedule something, she never wanted to do it. Then I would try another one and another one. And every time we tried to schedule it, there was something in her schedule that didn't vibe with it. When she found somebody, I had no problem. But then she would then back out. So we ended up trying something at our church. It was a couples counseling session, and we were doing that. Um, it's interesting, when you get into these groups, you always think, "Oh, not me, not me, not me." But and sometimes you think your life has incredible challenges, and then you get into a group like this, and you hear the struggles, uh, and it makes you realize, in some cases, well, you think you got troubles? Hold my beer, or wow, that's a lot to deal with. God bless you. And I just decided at this point that I was going to go into this session and I was going to be something that I never was, somebody who would just communicate and be honest and real and raw. And I was. I was spilling my guts. Um, I took responsibility for some of the things I wasn't doing as a husband or a man, and wanted to try and work and make this work. And then it was time for my ex to speak, and oh no, everything's good, everything's okay. Yeah, he's right, he is wrong, but it was never anything about her and her issues and her faults. And he was even being brought up by other people in the group, like the facilitators and other people. Like, Mo, there's got to be, you know, you're not really being open. You're not really sharing. In order for this to work, you've got to be a part of this process. And she saw it as he's the problem. He's got the issues. Everything's okay with me, and we need to fix him in order to fix this. And that doesn't work because there's two people involved in this relationship, and both of us have issues. We have pasts, and we're broken, and we have to heal. But if you're going to deny that there's nothing wrong, then there's never going to be a solution. That really kind of was the thing that was going on. While that was going on, as we were going into these counseling sessions, and we were going through the process of working through all these things and everything, my health kept deteriorating. My work life kind of switched around and moved over all over the place, and there were a few times where I would be coughing, constantly coughing, always taking cough drops. I was starting to get winded. I was starting to notice some things um, happening with my body. But again, stubborn man, ignore them. Try to use my own home remedy kind of stuff. Uh, but once we started to get into like September, there were times where I would lay down and it would kind of sound like I was gurgling at night. It's really, really crazy. In fact, I even passed out a couple of times. And that worried me, but I wasn't over worried. I know that doesn't make sense to some people, but to other people, it makes a great deal of sense. To me, it made sense. Um, I guess because I was always felt that I was kind of in this for myself and alone. And, you know, um, just one of the things we got to deal with. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to leave the rest of this for the next episode. Going to keep these short and sweet and break them up into nice little chops. So I want to thank you so much for listening and paying attention, and hopefully you'll continue to be a part of this. This is episode 2 of the Catalyst Podcast. Again, you can find us on Catalyst Motivation. That's Facebook. YouTube at Catalyst Motivation 561. And on Instagram at Catalyst Motivation 561. A catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that this podcast will do that. So this is Jason. Thanking you for listening. Go be great out there.